Alright, so this is an interaction that I feel like a lot of people will already know about, but with characters that have like a hidden stance or a special dodge, they can actually dodge level 1 and hidden stance level 3. The characters with this special kind of dodge include Nobushi, Jangjun, and Ocelotl. And the characters with the variably timed bash that you can do this against are Warden, Centurion, Warmonger, and Hitokiri. This next one's pretty similar, but Black Prior against all 4 of these aforementioned variably timed bashes can actually dodge level 1 and flip level 3. Tiandi can actually 100 to 0 a Griffin by just doing forward dodge lights. They are technically able to parry it, but Griffin players don't know how to do anything other than side dodge attack. Berserker against some of the characters with slower heavies can actually parry on light timing and then soft feint into a dodge to deflect heavy timing. Since zones allow your opponent to continue their chains after they get superior blocked, you are able to, as Aramusha, blockade counter the first attack and then go back into blockade to counter any hyper armor follow-ups. This is especially fun when against a Highlander, as you can blockade counter each individual part of his zone plus the heavy follow-up. And the Highlander won't be able to feint a guard break at all to punish you. If he feints at all, then he'll just stop his chains and get hits done. Some characters have zones that will allow them to punish the Aramusha's attacks. With Centurion, you can feint the second part, you can dodge the kick, parry the light, and parry the heavy. Warden's another character that can do this. You don't have to feint a second part or anything. Keep in mind that the top light is undodgeable, so you'll have to parry that in order to stay safe. When against a Conqueror as Warden, there is an actual singular parry frame that'll allow you to punish the flail uppercut from full guard. Centurion's parry window is much more generous. Warlord's zone is the same recovery as Warden's, so just like him, there will be a singular parry frame. And I completely accidentally did this on the very first try and was not able to replicate it after that. Shaman's zone is a lot like Centurion's, where you'll have to feint a second part and then parry, but her parry window is the largest out of any characters that can do this. Varangian Guard, being the special favorite child, will be able to just stop you dead in your tracks as soon as you try and do this against her. I would imagine you'd be able to do the same kind of thing against Kaioshin's full guard, but the dumbass AI just exits full guard as soon as you hit them. You should be able to use the same principle to parry the Nushia's deflect, but for whatever reason, the AI is not able to actually throw out the attack. Some characters with fast follow-ups to their zone will be able to actually trade with a riposte after full guard. The follow-up light does have to be 400 milliseconds, so it only applies to Shaman, Berserker, and Lawbringer, but only for top light. With all 3 of these characters though, your opponent will be able to full guard the follow-up and avoid the trade. Now I'm just going to showcase all of Deflect's interactions with a hyper armored follow-up, so Gladiator will only get 6 damage and will just bounce right off. Shaman will get full damage but will not interrupt hyper armor. She does have very fast recovery after her deflect, so you will be able to deflect any first attack and parry or deflect the hyper armored follow-up. Some characters with really fast hyper-armored follow-ups like Warlord will hit you before you're able to recover and actually deflect or parry the second attack, meaning you will just trade with it. Peacekeeper gets full damage but does not interrupt hyper-armor. Berserker, as you could assume, grabs straight through hyper-armor. Superior block dodges will not allow your opponent to do any sort of follow-up unless it is a zone. Conqueror's Fell Uppercut and Scootage Collection will not interrupt hyper armor, but his bash obviously will. Shinobi's deflect will interrupt hyper armor. Nushia's deflect will get full damage but will not interrupt hyper armor. Xiaolin's deflect will not interrupt hyper armor but will get full damage. Zanhu's superior block dodge attack will not interrupt hyper armor. Orochi's deflect can interrupt hyper armor. Afira's superior block bash will interrupt hyper armor. Valkyrie's superior block shoulder pin will not interrupt hyper armor but will get full damage. The superior block guard break will just bounce right off. Xiaolin is able to do a dodge attack, enter key stance, and then deflect any hyper armored follow-ups. Black Pyre is able to dodge attack and then flip any hyper armored follow-ups. Afira is able to dodge attack and then crush and counter any hyper armored follow-ups. And then Orochi, Berserker, and Zanhu are able to dodge attack and then deflect hyper armored follow-ups. I know Zanhu's is technically a superior block dodge, but bite me. Black Pyre being able to enter full guard off of a block is very helpful in certain situations, especially against Griffin, as you're able to flip the kick and undodgeable light. Shinobi has a very useful interaction with bash/undodgeable 50/50s where you can dodge the bash and then use your second dodge to deflect the undodgeable. With Warmonger, if you press X after parrying an out-of-stamina opponent, you will do a riposte, which against male opponents will send them into an enraged state. They will not do any additional damage or anything, but they will fight as if they have nothing left to lose. Here's a list of deflects that Black Pyre can flip. We got PK, Gladiator, Shaman, Orochi. God damn it, Nushia, why can't you just do the fucking deflect, you dumb bitch? Xiaolin. Just in case any of you didn't know, the Black Pyre's Bulwark does not get caught by traps. Nobushi's Light after her kick can avoid dodge attacks because it has iframes, but if you're a Berserker or Orochi you don't have to worry about it since your dodge attacks are undodgeable. It's also a really good tool for punishing dodge recovery cancels, especially Shinobi. The reason I say especially Shinobi is that with most characters they have an actual regular dodge as a recovery cancel, and if they can dodge then they can deflect.